Hey everyone, Chase here from the Cruiser Cult. Today we're going to talk with Joey from Wits End, and Dave's going to join me as usual. So let's get them both added here. All right, see if we can get him. And Dave on. All right, hey Dave.
What's going on? I'm just trying to get plugged in here.
All right, see if we can get Joey on.
Where's the man of the hour?
I know. Let's see. That invite again. Always the fun setup initially here. Yeah. Everyone, hold on for a second here while we get Joey. Thanks for your patience. Oh!
Oh!
Harsh.
Boom!
That was
Let's
low.
go. Let's get some more good comments going. Interesting color. Yeah, it's like orangish and reddish in a couple of places. It needs a lot of body work and paint. So this was some work I did myself. Pulling all this out, I wrapped it around a tree root. A little overspray from my bumper job and some rusty spots. This was orange. I think it was damaged at one point. Yeah, I invite people to come show up anytime I'm camping with them and spray paint my 60. Some shade of red, doesn't matter.
That's dangerous, man.
It's a roof nest, and then I've got a ARB. It's the 25. Ooh, rude. Oh, nerd coming through. He is a scientist. He's got a lot more years of schooling than me, so I'm not
Oh,
I'm not hurt with the line of questioning at all.
there he is.
What's up?
Hello. But I feel like I should have prepared and got myself a hospital gown and just showed up that way. But
Good to
You
see
wouldn't
you. How you
complain.
doing today?
good. So unfortunately, I'm still in the middle of doing stuff here. So
What are you working on? Talk us through it.
oh geez. Well, right now, just making sure I don't have people pissed off at me because they didn't get their order.
Oh, so you're packing orders right now.
Yeah, a couple of them. There's a couple of these trying to get packed up. So hi guys.
Hi, how you doing today?
I'm alive. So I don't know what everybody's going to want to see. In my entire life, I'm not used to being in front of the camera. I'm used to being behind it. So this is kind of weird. So I don't know my marks because I haven't prepared for them. I don't know where to pull focus because I'm in the front of the camera this time. So you have to bear with me.
It's all good.
No,
You have a face for radio.
I do have the radio face. I do definitely have a radio face. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, so I guess you want to start us off by maybe you want to do a quick shop pan tour or?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take a look. Where do I start? Hold on a second. Let me
If there's
turn
a top secret area, we should start at the top secret area.
So there is one, but that's luckily behind doors, so I don't have to worry about that. So here, let me switch over real quick. There's my trash pile for today.
Nice.
There's all the stuff that's working on for particular vehicles, but so just going through. I'm not going to show you guys on the back side of the office there, but this is basically on the shop. This is my personal 60. This is actually, I'm finishing this thing up so I can actually, put it on the market and sell it. But this is the one that just came back. I haven't posted anything about this yet. This is the one that I did the Lexus leather and electric seats and, redid the whole thing on this.
Wow.
And then back here, let's see, gas tank for auxiliary gas tank came from Australia. I had it cleaned up at the local diesel radiator and gas tank shop. So that one's all ready to go. There's all its little pieces. This one's top secret. I won't get into this guy. This one's pretty interesting. This one had an LS3 swap and the 6L80E. We didn't do that work here, but there was so much that needed to be done to it. It came to us. And so we've been doing, everything from axles to custom wiring on it. I mean, just to go back in here, just to see how stupid we wound up getting with this. Just tons and tons and tons of wiring, on the top. We did some custom shenanigans with the solar power. I mean, just a crazy amount of stuff. And this thing, so like we're about to put on the ham radio. He's about to get this stuff, which is all going on, of course, Delta's center console. So we have
That's beautiful.
all of our, this is what the plate looks like before we completely screw it up and make it look the way we'd like it to look. This guy is, damn it, I can't get into him either. He's also super secret. This guy's been here for a little bit. He was actually in the middle of moving and needed someplace to store, and now it's turning into a much bigger project. So this is actually a JDM truck. It's got the 1HDT. I'm shocked at how many of the diesels I've been working on up to this point, but they've been gravitating here, and I'm not here to say no. Glorious right-hand drive. If anybody's curious what the fridge looks like when you take out the center console on the Japanese trucks, that's what it looks like. This one works. And actually, we've been dissecting this thing because I really, really, really want this in my truck. So I've been taking lots of notes. There's a bunch of little cool things that we're going to be doing on this. But this guy's getting, the full treatment. So he's getting, everything. This thing's totally gutted, and we're going to be doing lots of shenanigans inside of him. Then, as we come back here, there will be my turbo truck. So this is Turbo Test Mule. This is the one that, everybody's used to seeing. And still lots of development on here. This is obviously the turbo. This has the York. A couple of pieces have been removed just because I'm redoing them. Like I wanted to bring a methanol injection system to this, but there's a couple of things I didn't like. Like it was fine for me, but probably would not have been fine for the end user. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's take it back out. Let's take care of the things that annoy me, because if they annoy me, they may or may not annoy somebody else. And so this is the same one that we did the hydraulic winch that was hidden inside. This is not the winch that we rebuilt. Actually, no, this is the hydraulic one that we rebuilt. The Toyota electric winch that we built, that one's already gone. Okay. And then this one, I haven't even posted about this either. So I have the wagon gear, gull-wing windows on this. I have the full.
Did Kevin do the install on those himself?
He did them on this truck. He did them on that truck, and then he did them on one other truck that's not here anymore. So yeah, I'm lucky that now that I live in Oregon, I lose access to 90% of my world, but I gain a couple because they're local to me. So Kevin was cool enough to come down and spend 2 days over here and do stuff. And then other than that, I haven't even gone into details about this, but I went with goose gear for the inside here. There's the panels that you see that are missing is only because I'm in the middle of doing stuff. And I wouldn't say it's super secret, but I'm trying to make it more functional for me. So that's why this stuff is out. But lots more stuff coming with this guy.
I have a little confession to make I saw that video I think you posted about Kevin doing the install on those. And I was a couple drinks in late in the evening, and I emailed him right away to say I need those on my 60 series. So I'm like only a year in line on getting those wing windows.
Well,
but
I thought about it for
thank you.
mine. I thought about it for mine, and I'm like, hey, you know, while we're at it, let's put the wing windows on my 60. He's like, yeah, yeah, no, it's gonna be a while. Like, all right, awesome, great, thanks. So no worries. So just so people know, I don't do service on people's vehicles, despite what you see in here. There's most of the stuff that's in here is because I'm doing product development. I'm doing other stuff. And so, like, for example, this thing's pristine. I'm not going to be ripping this thing apart so that I can work on something that would fit a non-turbo or a non-supercharged truck. You know, I need other vehicles. And so I have people that will say, well, here, you know, here's this one. I'm not going to need it until, you know, next year sometime, you know, do it for mine. All right, well, park it here and I'll do all my shenanigans with it. And then pretty soon I have, you know, 2, 3, 10, whatever, new products because I have the vehicle here to experiment with. So for me, if the vehicle's not here, I'm just not going to work on it. Or rather, so people say all the time, it's like, how come you don't come up with 200 series stuff? I don't have a 200 series. Simple as that. If there was a 200 series in my shop, yeah, maybe I would. But my focus is on the 80. I know them really well, so that really helps. My knowledge is kind of okay on the 60s, but I don't have the love for the 60s the way that I have for the 80s. The 60s are cool, plenty of character, but the 100s to me is soulless. I have one because I use it for development, but they're soulless. It's a big minivan. The 80 series for me is just the perfect platform, and it's so much fun to develop for because everything that I ever wanted to play with is there. It's just there to play with. On the 60, it's, you know, the 60 is more nostalgia. The 80s, I don't necessarily feel nostalgia. It's more of, you know, it's just fun. It's just such a great platform to just build around. You know, it's like if I was a Jeep person, you know, the JK would be my world, and but I'm not a Jeep person, so I don't care. So
Joey,
anyway,
take us through your first cruiser. That was the white 60, right?
Oh God, no. My first cruiser was an FJ60, or sorry, an FJ40. And gosh, I got the bug from doing the 40s only because, let me switch the camera around. I got the bug from it only because my very first time that I saw the 40 series is actually because it's the very first time that I met Spectre from Spectre Off Road. And when he came down, at the time I was, I don't know, maybe 15 years old, and I was working at my uncle's machine shop. And so my uncle would, you know, he'd do tons and tons and tons and tons of engine rebuilds, valve jobs, I mean, everything. And I worked there for a few years with him. And that's where I really got to know engines, where I really got to know this kind of stuff. But I think I was 15 at the time, and Marv drives up, and he's in a 40 series, and he has his I don't know if it was a girlfriend at the time or wife by then, but Kay was with him. And at 15, I remember thinking to myself, holy cow, this is the coolest vehicle I think. And if this is what it takes to get hot girls, then I need to get myself involved with the 40 series. And so, so I don't know, Kay, if you're listening, sorry, I didn't mean to objectify you, but at 15 years old, you were objectified. And so we were rebuilding one of the, I believe it's an F engine or an F-135 for him, for one of his customers. And I just remember seeing the 40 that was in it. I just thought it was just the most gorgeous thing I'd ever seen. And so that's where it started. And so my first vehicle was actually a 79 Toyota 4-wheel drive pickup. And so that my wife and I had a lot of fun in that. And so that's where, my love of Toyotas really started. From there was the 40 series, then eventually a 60, then it was a 4Runner, and then it was another 60, and then it was another 40, and then it was my first 80. First 80 was, funny enough, wasn't even the Land Cruiser version of it, was the Lexus version of it. And my wife and I went to go to the Toyota dealership, and we thought, oh, let's get, we should take a look at one of the Land Cruisers. And she went for a test drive. I went for a test drive, and we're like, maybe this isn't really for us. And so here, I'll take you outside so you can see. So our very first 80 actually turned out to be a is the one that we got. And so now we're 21 years into this thing. And so once we had this, we knew, oh, this is, I caught the 80 bug, and I knew this is going to be, the way it's going to be. So, we've got, not quite 400,000 miles, but we've got about 390,000 miles onto this. And
nice.
And this used to be my daily driver, and forget the 3rd gen, whatever, somebody didn't want it, so they gave it to me. But now it turned into my 100. Again, it's totally soulless. It's just a work vehicle. I really don't care about it. But this has become, my everyday vehicle. This is what I drive every single day. There's a lot that I could do with it, but I'm not really just feeling it. So that's where that goes. So let me turn back around.
It takes some getting used to. It's definitely a different vehicle.
Oh, dude, without a doubt.
Joey, one of the questions that I was thinking about as you were kind of walking us through some of that was talking about how, and that was something I was thinking about going into this, was asking you about how do you balance product development and what seemed to be customer builds. It sounds like you've got an idea in your mind when you take on a customer to have a truck there. Is that kind of the way you go about it? Is there a specific thought process how you go into product development?
Oh, so, gosh, you have to keep in mind, I've been in product development for such a long time now that for each industry I've been in, it's been so different. But here, here, I think the way that I do it is, or at least the way I started. The way it started was, I know what I want. I wanted whatever. I'm trying to think of I'm sitting here looking at my turbo, and there's like 50 million things that I've done to this. And but it just starts with, here's what I want. I want a fire extinguisher mount. And that's kind of where things started. And, nobody was making one. And after, unfortunately watching, some poor woman burn to death in her car, I thought, I'm never going to let this happen to, my family. There has to be a way to mount a fire extinguisher as close as humanly possible while I'm driving, because I don't want to dig out in the back and try and hunt this thing down as it's rolling around in my drawers. I want it as close as possible. So that's kind of where it started. So every one of the product development at the beginning was out of necessity. I need this to happen. How do I make this happen? Is anybody else? So at the beginning, I was always looking at, is anybody else doing this? No, I don't really care. I'm just making it. And some people saw it and said, oh, make me one, make me one. And that's kind of where it all started. Today, it's different because I'll have an idea. So, I want to do X. And then now I have to hunt for it. okay, does anybody else make this thing? Does anybody else make this thing? Oh, there's one guy in Australia. Okay, I'm done. There's a guy in Australia that makes it. I don't need to recreate the wheel. He's doing it. Anybody else wants to order it, they order from him, as I do. But if there's nobody else that has a good solution, I'm going to go ahead and jump on it. And there are times where it's not the smartest thing for me to be working on, but I either want it because I want it for my own needs, or I have somebody that's in here and says, well, it'd be really nice if I can mount X and Y, and I'm like, well, I have no interest in let's, I don't know, pick a name, an S-Pod. S-Pods are great. Love S-Pods. Installed a few. I have nothing against S-Pod, but for my purposes, I actually went with Switch Pros. And so when I was developing stuff for Switch Pros, I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is the direction I'm going to go in. And when somebody says, well, what about S-Pod? And I thought, prices, like how many different mounts am I going to make for these different ones? And so I started going down this path, and then somebody else says, well, what about this Chinese made knockoff with the Switch Pros? I'm like, don't even talk to me about Chinese anything. Like, not interested, don't care. If it's Chinese, I have a really bad taste in my mouth about Chinese ripping things off because of my previous industry. We got hosed really, really, really bad. And so I never want to be put in that position again. And so when it still comes to the product development side of things, I definitely can pick a need and say, okay, you know what, this is what I want to attack. For example, on this guy here, he's got the one HDT, he's got the Safari intercooler setup. But it's got tons and tons of problems. And so, we're going to be changing out the intake. We're going to be changing out the turbo. We have to change out the air intake because we're going to go with the larger turbo. And at the same time, guess what? I want to stuff a York onboard air kit in there. How does that happen? Well, I have to have the vehicle here in order to make that happen. So that's kind of where that all starts. And then, so now, I know what I want, right? Okay, so I want a York in a 1HDT. Do I have a 1HDT? Nope. Do I want one? Yeah, sure. Somewhere down the line, I'll probably get one. So how do I make sure that this thing gets taken care of so that I can get one for me, one for whoever's vehicle I'm working on? How do I make this happen? And so now I'm gonna let me find my. I have a little bucket here somewhere. One second. I have a little bucket here somewhere that has all my.
The running joke that all of us have at Cruiser Cult is that this is just so that we can get 105s when they're available to import. So like this is going to pay off someday, maybe.
If you knew how much money I have in Bitcoin to make that happen. But like here, this is everything in all my notes for putting and samples for putting the York compressor onto the 1HDT. It's done. We've figured it all out. We've tested it. We're good to go. So now it's just a matter of, okay, well, when do I bring this to fruition? Well, geez, I'm in the middle of 48 different things. And so how do I fit the time to do it? Well, I can't just earmark time for that. It'll take me a week solid just to get that stuff going. So instead, what happens is a vehicle comes in and says, hey, while you're doing, $10, $20, $30,000 worth of work, what about onboard air? Well, guess what? That moves its priority up because he's here and I want to get him out of here. So that's kind of where that stuff happens.
Nice.
I got a couple questions that people have dropped on the site. There's somebody asking about
I still have the
red and blue
pound.
fan clutches.
I'm sorry, say again.
Yeah. red or blue fan clutches. We didn't see them on your website. Do you know if you're getting more of those or what the status is on those?
So I've never had red. Red is for the FJ62, or I think some of the 3FEs have the red. Never had them, but there are the orange. The orange for the supercharger, and mainly it's used because it has a longer hub on it, and it's to clear the serpentine belt. So neither one of those are ever going to be on the site again, because all of those are now with Land Tank, because he finally opened up his own store. So anything that's Land Tank has been moved all onto his stuff. So I don't handle any of his stuff anymore. So basically anything that's on my site is, I'm trying to think, but almost exclusively all Wits End stuff. Well, the OEM crap too, but.
Yeah, you were carrying a lot of Viair at one point with a lot of your early models. You were kind of building stuff for that. And then, yeah, you definitely had a huge influx in Toyota specific products, which is cool.
Yeah, so the Viair didn't go away. What happened was they wound up changing some of the models that they had. And so I had to make a choice. It's like, well, do I keep doing this? Do I keep doing that? And then there was a problem of them getting the inventory. And it was really, really spotty. And you know what? Look, I'm sure you guys have seen, the complaints every now and then of where's my order, where's my order, where's my order. And the last thing I wanted is I didn't need Viair's help to make me look bad, So it's not that I'm not handling the stuff. It's just that until stuff can be more consistent to be brought in, I'm just going to hold off on all the Viair stuff. But I like it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. So to backtrack a little bit, you kind of touched on it. Like, how did Wits End really start? Was it just like slow organic process? Like you just realized you got so many requests and then you decided I'm going to make go of this, or how did that really start?
So previous to Wits End, I was working in the film industry, and contrary to what everybody thinks, no, I did not do porn. I know you look at this face and you think porn, definitely porn. He's Italian, must be porn. No. So it all started doing manufacturing for the film industry. So somebody would come to us and say, hey, I have a Canon C300 and I want to shoot it over the shoulder. I want to shoot it doggy cam. I want to shoot it on a steady arm. I need a bridge plate. I need a cheese plate. I need all these different things to make shooting this thing easier for me. What do I need to do? So we would develop a lot of that stuff. We would develop stuff for Panavision. We developed a lot of stuff for Red Digital Cinema. Red, fuck those guys. But then we developed for Sony. So we did a lot of stuff with Sony. So like the World Cup, we supplied tons and tons of equipment for them. So everything that they did in 3D. Which, by the way, I'm really, really sorry for those people that have to endure 3D movies for the past 10 years. I'm very sorry. That's partially my fault. But that was, once we started doing that, it was difficult to do something else, because once we sold that company, we had, everybody kind of went, their different ways. And, I was, at the time I was only like 40 years old, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? It's like, okay, I got a couple, extra dollars in my pocket, but, this doesn't feel good, because what am I going to do at 40 years old? And so I had initially banded together with some of the other guys that had left Red. And so what's funny is when I talk about the, like S-Pod and Switch Pros and whatnot, that technology is what we had been working on in the film industry for that, gosh, I don't know, 10, 12 years now. And so I laugh thinking, holy cow, where we originally were going to do things, I look at Switch Pro and each one of those, it's like, it's really good systems. It's really cool. It's all CAN bus stuff. It's all stuff that was in our wheelhouse. And I just kind of laugh thinking, wow, this is, the same thing that's, $600 from Switch Pro, we would charge, $15,000 in the entertainment world, but we're dealing with, time code, we're dealing with metadata, we're dealing with Fizz systems, which is wireless lens control, we're dealing with a whole lot of different communication protocols coming in, and the original thought was, oh, we can do this, and then pretty soon one person says, oh, well, I got a job in Texas. Oh, another person says, oh, I got a job over here. Oh, I don't need to do this. And so I'm left going, well, this sucks. And so I just started doing a bunch of traveling, and my wife, bless her heart, she's a double master CPA, and she's, making all the money for us at this point. And she gets to a point, I don't know, it's maybe 8-9 months later. She's like, are you going to do anything? Are you literally just going to be just, working on your Land Cruiser the entire time, until we retire? And I thought about it. And I thought, no, I'm way too bored. And so I kept that going, at least with the name. And I'm like, well, I have this idea for these little pouches. I call the APUs, the accessory panel units. So, you lift up your armrest and, you stick this thing there, and it was great because literally I just needed a place to hide money. And so, I needed to keep $100 in each vehicle just in case. And I didn't want all the usual suspects. So that's really where that came up. But while that was being worked on, I was working on the fire extinguisher mount, and I showed one person, and like we talked about earlier, and they said, oh, make me one. And in the manufacturing world, it doesn't make sense to make one unless you're doing prototyping and just proof of concept. Mm-hmm. It makes more sense because of economics of scale to do 50, to do 100, to do whatever. And so that's the world I came from. In the film industry, we'd be making 5,000 pieces of one little thing, and times 600 SKUs. It's a lot of machining. And when I started this, it was okay. You know what? I'll make whatever it was. I think I started with 25 of the fire extinguisher mounts. I'm like, I'll make 25, and if they sell, great, whatever. And by the morning, I was like, oh crap, all 25 are gone. I'm like, shoot, what do I do? And so, it was at the beginning, I was trying to take advantage of the relationships that I had with the manufacturers that I had before. So the CNCs, the sheet metal, each one of them was, well, come to me when you have.
I think we lost your audio a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So each one of them was like, yeah, I totally want to help you out. But come back to me when you have 1,000 pieces. What? But that was each one. And I was like, wait, I don't get this. I don't understand why this is, has to be, this difficult. It's like last year, I spent, $180,000 with you with my last company. Why shouldn't that in part? Like, yeah, but that was when you were with the last company. I'm like, okay, this is weird. But that's the thing about being in LA at the time is machine shops are everywhere, because we had aerospace, because we had the auto industry, we had all of this stuff. So trying to, get somebody to help you out when you're trying to start something was so difficult. So before long, there was the fire extinguisher mounts were a success. I'm like, okay, great. I'll what's the next thing that I want? Oh, I know. I want the cubby insert. So I started playing with that because I wanted to mount crap on my dash. And then, it just snowballs. And it's literally because there was a worm in my ear somewhere or something that says, oh, I want this. And that's it. It's literally it. There's nobody that tells me, oh, why don't you make this? Oh, why don't you make that? Yeah, sure. There's a million of those people, but none of those really, impart on me much, because, there's always going to be those people that say, oh, you know what? Oh, I found somebody that, likes to make crap. So let me bug this guy incessantly so that I can get crap made for me. And I'm not that guy. But there are times when I find something so interesting, it's like, oh, that's really cool. Let me go ahead and do that. A perfect example is on Facebook, there's this guy, Mike Rich. I can't. I'm butchering his last name, but he said, hey, what about doing something where you make this little mount that goes into the little holes in the Toyota trucks. And I looked at it. I'm like, I don't really want to go that route about it. But that was it. That was the worm in my ear. And like, you know what? I could totally change it up, redo it, and started doing it. And so that became the dash hole mounts. And holy cow, I can't make enough of those things. It's crazy of how popular those things were, and they fit almost any Toyota vehicle, truck or car. In anything like in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, it would just fit. I was like, this is so wild. And so, yes, there are those rare occasions where somebody has an impact on what gets made, but it's usually just a brain fart that I have, and I'll just decide, yeah, now's a good time to get this thing made.
Talk to us
Nice.
about your design aesthetic. You have a very, very clean look, and you seem to go like really hard for laser engraving. So I know everybody's wondering about the design aesthetic that you have.
Well, so a little background is, I went to Art Center Pasadena. I'm a dropout, first year dropout. And that was after going to community college. And I realized I have to work for a living. So, college wasn't in the cards for me. But what was in the cards for me was graphic design, I used to do tons and tons of airbrush work and as a kid. And the graphic design that I was doing catapulted me into a job where I was the director of marketing and creative director for a telecom company, Fortune 500 company at the time. They've now been bought out and they don't exist anymore. But it was MRV Communications. So I was with them for 11 years, and everything was about design aesthetics. Everything was about, what I need to do to make things look better. And so, that was anything from data sheets to the website, to marketing material, to the actual products themselves. And so at MRV, it was a massive, massive manufacturing event because, you have this company, we had an MOCVD lab. So that's a organic vapor chemical deposition, which is, it's a laser foundry. So every laser and chip and wafer that needs to be made has to be made in an MOCVD lab. And we had one of those. And so it was just this cool place where I had the opportunity to spend way more money than I'd ever, been able to play with, to have this cool aesthetic and do design for. And so once I left there, it was when I was in the entertainment industry. Well, guess what? You're dealing for the entertainment industry to where everybody has a very, very, very distinct opinion about aesthetics. And if it doesn't look good on the rig that they're shooting with, look, the rig that they're shooting with is never on camera. It is the camera. But these people love to showcase their gear. So you have to keep in mind when a movie is shot, most of the time that camera gear is owned by the person who's shooting with it. Sometimes it's rented out. Sometimes, a studio will supply that stuff, but not usually. Usually it's everything's rental house stuff, so they have this aesthetic that they want to keep, and they want things to just look like it belongs where it needs to be. And so that's where we came in. Once I left that, well, once it left me, when Wits End started, it was, I have to give a lot of credit to my mechanical engineer. And so I won't divulge names so that he doesn't get hounded, but he's done a lot to take the things that are in my head and have them come to life. And so I appreciate the hell out of him for bearing with me, because I'm so picky on fit and finish that I will go months and months and months. Like I'll show something on Instagram or Facebook or Mud or whatever, and I say, hey, here's what I'm looking on. Okay, good, great, yeah, sign me up, send me to whatever. And it's 6 months later before I can ship. And the reason for this is I'm so anal when it comes to how these things look, feel, just everything. And so a lot of it is what can I remove to make this thing still function? And like, I don't want these big blocky looking solutions that looks like it belongs on a Jeep. That will just drive me nuts. And so there are things that I know I like. So like, here, let's switch this over. You're like, look, I finally got these things in. So basically everybody's been complaining, look, I finally have it. But this is, so this is just a mount that is designed for an air coupler and for an SB 175. And so when I was doing this, all I was thinking is, I just want a simple, easy way to mount this stuff. That was it. I don't, I didn't care if a Jeeper wanted it in green, or, if somebody wanted it out of aluminum, or no, that's not the right, solution for this thing. And so that's where that came in. But, when I look at, here, another good example. So here's a mirror mount. This is for a 3rd gen 4Runner. And so I wanted to use the Gentex mirror, but the mirror had to be designed, or the mirror arm rather. And so, a lot of times it's what is absolutely positively necessary to be on there. Okay, well, let's figure that out and start eliminating so that we can get this nice slick looking piece that makes sense in there. And then you go so far as you also have these little coupler, what I call the pacifiers. The design for this is simple. I just took the male coupler part of it and designed from there, and basically designed a manifold so that all of the couplers were just plugged into the manifold. We supplied manifold with air and then tested each one of them. And then you have to go back and say, okay, what are the specs, the tolerance for this thing? Well, it's from, A to B. Okay, what's the tolerance for machining on my side? Well, it's from C to D. And so somewhere in there has to be, the right thing. And look, the Nitto plug from a couple of days ago is a perfect example where I don't always get it right. There's a tolerance in there that are at both extremes that didn't work. And so now I have to let everybody know, hey, I screwed up. There are certain conditions where this won't work. And so my design aesthetic doesn't matter. It's the mechanics of it didn't work, And so it starts with the mechanical part of it. But as far as the looks, it has to look, like it belongs there, but I can't have it look stupid. It's, oh God, it would drive me nuts. There's a lot of things that people do in design that I look at and it's like, oh dude, and I'll send them a private note. You should think about not doing this, not doing this, not doing this, not doing this. But otherwise it's a great idea. And most people are like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, thanks. I didn't ask. but some things just really drive me nuts. And so that's on the design side. It's, there's the other problem is, it's subjective. It's what looks cool to me. You guys may look at and go, maybe if you made it pink, it would look a little better. I don't know. I never know. But trust me when I say I beat myself up pretty darn hard to make sure that it looks good. It looks the way that I want it to look. I'd like to think that I do it right sometimes, but I don't know. How I know.
Shows.
Well, the way I know is people buy it. Then I know, oh, okay, I didn't screw this up. So I'm gonna turn that light off. So that's part of it is as long as people will look at it and go, I guess this is worth my time, and then they get it. That's great. It works for me.
Nice. So as a 3FE owner, I really appreciate your willingness to make some pretty niche, kind of crazy stuff. I mean, the head bolts are one that really ring for me. I mean, that was like out of left field for me. I was like, that's so awesome. He went through all the effort for these bolts. And the winch restoration you did, And so I was curious. You can talk about the head bolts too, but I was curious about. Do you have any favorite parts to date you've built, or maybe one that's most challenging or hated? I don't know.
Man. Okay, so well, on the 3FE bolts, literally it was I had a customer that he's a pretty good customer, and he was asking. He said, "Hey, I got a 3FE, and I can't find these bolts for the smog bracket. What can we do?" And I hunted like crazy. I'm like, let me see what I could find. Let me see what I could find. And when it came down to it, I finally realized, like, you know what, this poor guy's not going to be able to find what he needs. And we did find a pair at Spectre Off Road, but they were like $55 a piece for used. And it's like, what the hell? And so my buddy had just got a lathe and needed a project to monkey around with the lathe. And I said, oh, here's something that we can play around with. And so did a little bit of research. We first decided on the heat treatment that we wanted. We decided on the material. We decided the PSI that it needed. We didn't have to worry about shear. It just needed to hold. And then when I started posting that information on both Instagram and Facebook, holy hell, every armchair engineer in the world was just crapping on it. And I thought, what are these people basing this information off of? I don't think they understand what they're talking about. And so we did a little bit of material analysis and taking a look at it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is going to be literally stronger than the bolt they're taking out. And so I sent it out to be heat treated, and then now we switched it around a little bit to where we're heat treating it first, and then there's going to be a little bit of a cleaner look. But it's so I know what you're thinking, hashtag 3FE Mafia, but I'm not a huge fan of the 3FEs. They don't tickle my pickle.
You have a saying about those, don't you? That different things get thrown at people depending on what kind of motor they've got in their Land Cruiser.
Look, I'm not here to judge anybody's journey, but the 3FE, they get the sweaty jock straps, and the 80s with the 1FZ, they get the panties thrown at them. That's for sure.
So how many panties have actually been thrown at you?
So as it turns out, like Thomas Hightower came over here and he dropped them and tried to throw them at me. That didn't work out so well. It's funny. The turbo gets a lot of attention, and there's been a lot of conversations started from it, and not one of them has been a woman. So I don't know. Maybe it's not not the result I was hoping for, but that's the result I got.
So tell us a little bit about how you came across that turbo project. I mean, that's not just one part, like, for example, the mirror mount that you talked about earlier, where you're trying to figure just the dimensions and how it all works, but there's a lot of parts, a lot of pieces going on with a turbo install in a vehicle. How do you even start that process from a design perspective, and trying to get it all to work together?
So the turbo was never, ever in my game plan. In fact, I'm not even a big, turbo aficionado. It's not really, it wasn't in my wheelhouse. But it became an engineering challenge. That's really all it was. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And so Scott Ryan on Mud was posting, it's like, well, if I was going to make a turbo, this is what I would do. And so that thread had went on for like 12 pages. And now it's up to like, I don't know, 17,000 pages. I don't know. But, and so I started reaching out to him, and I said, well, okay, what needs to be manufactured? Because that's where I come in. And he goes, well, it would need a J pipe, it would need a down pipe, it would need a, there's an industrial pipe manufacturer over here that I can start messing with. They don't do exhaust stuff. Well, they do exhaust stuff, but it's more like, they have a contract with the school, with, the chemical industry wants to, bring piping in, and they use these guys. And so I brought in the turbo project to them, and they're like, really, this is what you want us to do? Like, yeah, let's see what we can do. And so they agreed to it, and great. That's kind of what started down that path. But my design aesthetic kicked into overdrive because I knew so let's go back to design. When I design something, it's not, first off, it's not 100% me. Obviously there's a mechanical engineer and there's the machinist, and sometimes they're the same people. And so they do the bulk of it, but there's a spark in my head that gets it started. And so when I started looking at it, or at any project, it's okay, how do I design this so that it's the absolute easiest way to install it, so that the smallest monkey brain with knuckles dragging can install this thing without an issue. And so I'll over design things because I have to make it so that any idiot can install this thing. Yeah, anybody with intelligence is gonna bitch and whine and complain on how come I didn't add a tab, or how come I use this hardware or that. I don't really care about those conversations. But what I worry about is for that person that's working in their home garage. It's like, hey, I'm trying to install this thing and I'm having problems. Well, if somebody's having problems, that means I screwed up somewhere. There's something that I didn't overthink, and so it's really daunting, because I hate that. I hate that somebody can't pick up something that I've done and look at it and go, oh yeah, this is so obvious. If they have to sit there and look at it and go, well, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Oh man, it's crushing. It's crushing to me. That's where the turbo came in, because when I was, in turbo test mule number 1, we're there with a friend and, taking a look at, we took a look at CX racing. It's like, okay, let's see what's out there and see how much of a pain in the ass is going to be. And so, that thing gets installed, and the realization is, holy cow, if you don't have your own machine shop, it's like, this is a mess to try to put together, a complete mess. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't like the manifold. I don't like this. I don't like Chinese turbo. I don't like, there's all these things I didn't like. And so I decided, you know what? No, I want to go a completely different route. I want to go down pipe. I want to go with the J pipe. I want to, the AC hose has to move, so we have to make a bracket for it. Oh, the speed sensor for drag strips that nobody will ever use. Oh, I want to get that block. And all these different things started coming into play, that once we started installing it, we were realizing, oh, here's a roadblock. Well, let's make a solution for it. Oh, we have a problem with heat here. Okay, let's heat sleeve it and include it. Oh, there's a problem with this, problem with this, problem with that. And so at the end of the day, after 2 years of developing it, I finally got to the point where, like, holy cow, this is great. This is awesome. This is it's like perfect. There's nothing, nothing more to do to it. And then COVID hit. So that's been my hell, since COVID hit, is trying to keep those things going. Luckily I do. In fact, just was it yesterday or Monday, another one went out. So those things are still moving. But COVID's killed me on that side. But yeah, when it comes to the product, it has to be obvious, and it has to be complete. And when it's not complete and it's not obvious, then I'm just not happy. It kills me. And again, this is why it takes so long to develop stuff. And I see so many other times I'll get stuff in here and it'll drive me crazy. I had a Prinsu rack in here. Look, nothing against Prinsu, whatever, I don't care. But I had it in here and it's like, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. It just seems like they had a bucket of hardware and they just grabbed their hands in and just popped it into a box and said, go have fun. There's your spares, good luck. And then, when we had the Bowfin one in here, we're like, oh, okay, this is, a lot smarter, a lot easier. And so we look at those kind of things and look, I have no interest in making a rack. That's not my wheelhouse. I'll never make a I'll never make a bumper. I'll never make sliders. I'll never make this, you know, and it's important for me because there's so many people out there already making this stuff and they're really talented. I am not talented at making bumpers. I'm not making racks. That's my world. It's not my, and on top of that, I don't need that kind of competition. Look, we're already, you know, dealing with vehicles that are a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche. And now all of a sudden I'm going to make a product that's of an niche of an niche of a niche of a niche. And oh, wait, I have 5 other competitors for the same thing. No. You know, if you look on the site, nearly everything that's in there, I don't have a competition for. Nobody else is going to make it. Nobody else wants to make it. And I'm in. It's well, nobody else wants to make this. I have the ability, I have the time, I have whatever, so I'll make it. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Have you
Well,
have you ever
done an amazing job.
Eh.
And humble.
No, I would agree with Chase. There are people commenting down below who've just talked about how much they love some of the products that you have and you've made, and you know, hope you'll continue to make others. One of the questions that I wonder is you've talked about you know, some of the design, and it almost seemed like before, when you were in the film industry, there was kind of a limitless you know, bankroll to help kind of make some of those things happen because it could just be passed off to somebody else. Have you felt like you've had to stop projects because you're like, I can't make that happen and have it be either profitable or have the development costs like kind of weigh out and have something that you'd be happy with at the end?
So it's funny you should say that. So let's keep in mind, first off, I'm not motivated by money. I'm not a money person. I don't live and breathe to make the almighty dollar. That's just, look, I know I need money. I know to keep the lights. In fact, I turned off the lights because I was just thinking, I was like, I don't need to spend that money. I'm not exactly frugal, but I don't care enough about money to where I have to hyper think about, oh my God, am I going to make back my money on this? Am I going to make, I never, those thoughts never crossed my mind. Sorry, honey, if you're listening to this. I don't think like that. I can't think like that because you know what? You know, being worried about whether or not I'm gonna you know, get back to zero or make a profit on it is one of the most limiting things I could possibly imagine. Having a budget for development is another ridiculously limiting thing. So the way that I've looked at it is, look, I have, I don't know, there's probably about 300-ish products that are products. Out of those 300, some do really, really well and some not so much. And so every one of those things kind of balances each other out. And because I get to have fun on some things, so, you know, like the, my fender blender, you know, I enjoyed the hell out of that. And I had so much fun doing it. And everybody's telling me, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. And I didn't, you know, I acknowledged, I didn't say that they were wrong, but it was fun. I wanted a stupid little blender thing that was air powered. Why? Because I was, you know, doing all this York stuff and why not have it, you know, be air powered? And look, I was successful in making that happen, but that died on the vine. There was, you know, a small number of people that got it and really liked it. There's others that got it and did not follow instructions and were very unhappy. And you know what? Sorry, you can't follow instructions. There's only so much I can do. So, but there's other things that that do really well, like the 80 series overdrive steel tool. There's no point that I can make enough of those things, which is great. I'm really happy about those things. But I never went into it thinking, oh crap, am I gonna, you know, make enough money to? No, it's just not something I need to think. It's something I should think about. It's something that I should panic about. You know, the turbo development. Oh my God, it was ungodly expensive. And that is probably the only thing, looking back, that I regret. I think my life would be a lot easier if I had not done a turbo project. I have a, you know, whole lot of hajita because of that stupid thing. That being said, that really did propel Wits End because, you know, that thing's gotten a crazy amount of attention that I wouldn't have gotten had I not project on. But what it also does is makes me realize, oh, well, okay, that was successful, and that was a huge undertaking. What's the next large successful undertaking thing that I think is going to be successful? So those are the passion projects, or the things that I'm not going to show you on this, but they're big projects. They're projects that could be just as popular as Turbo is the new thing that is being worked on. And so I know people are going to go nuts with them, but I know it's going to happen. And you know, in the beginning days of the Turbo, you know, nobody knew that I was working on it. And I asked Scott, like, please don't out me because I'm going to be and somebody figured it out. And it's because, you know, my photography. So all of my photography is done right over there on a bench. And so somebody recognized the type of photo, and they're like, oh, that looks like Wits End photography. And so, you know, somebody says, oh, Wits End must be working on the Turbo. I'm like, damn it. And so that's where it came out. The problem is when those announcements come in, I'm inundated. I'm one guy. I have, well, I shouldn't say that. I have a great guy that I hired last year. His name's Jared. And so, you know, he helps me with all of the mechanical side of things, because like it's impossible to do all of this, you know, as one person. It's just impossible. I have my little brother that kind of sort of helps out ish when like not playing video games. And then my wife, unfortunately, you know, my wife had bigger plans on helping out when we moved out here to Oregon, and well, that things didn't go the way we had hoped. So yeah, it's just there's so much that one person can do in a 24-hour time span. So that's kind of where I'm at.
How is your wife doing? There's a couple comments asking people how everything's going, and you know, trying to share some strength and keeping strong with all the health challenges.
Well, let's back up. For those that don't know, we moved out here in Oregon. So the literal first day of the pandemic, March, whatever it is, or something, of 2020, we moved out here to Oregon, moved everything, the family, the business, everything moved to Oregon. And so it was about 3 months after that, my wife was getting sick kind of before this, but we didn't really know. We just thought, oh, that's weird. She's, you know, not feeling well, and loss of energy, and, you know, losing weight, and, you know, just whatever. We just thought, okay, she's just worn down, too much work. But, you know, she had quit her CPA firm to come out here. And so we're like, oh, it's kind of weird. You know, she should be relaxing more and feeling more refreshed because the stress is gone. Because she was feeling ill. And in July, we had to rush her to the hospital because she was severely anemic. She got units of blood transfusion. We were getting news that she was, you know, that close from checking out. But while there in the hospital, we found out that she was stage 4 lymphoma. Woohoo! And so all of that hell started. Chemo until November. Unfortunately, during the chemo treatment, one of her kidneys decided to go on a vacation. And it wasn't until, oh gosh, like 3 weeks ago that she had her kidney finally removed, the bad kidney. So she's still on the mend. She's a whole lot better than she was when we came out here. She feels great. There's still some residual pain because, you know, the kidney removal was just a few weeks ago. So she's still battling with that. She has her hair back, back. She has more hair than all three of us at this point. So she's happy about that. And yeah, there was a point last December that I had more hair than she did, and it was really upsetting for her. So yes, thanks everybody. We're trying the best we can, and it's been a crazy challenge because, you know, my wife spent a total of 64 nights in the hospital, and I'm there every moment of every minute that she's there. And it's, you know, for a hospital that didn't have Wi-Fi rooms, it was like, you know, how do I get work done? And it was a challenge. I would say 95% of the people were pretty darn understanding, and the other five, well, fuck those people. You don't need those people in your life anyway. So it is what it is. In my job, you have to keep in mind my job is not to make everybody happy. I'm not a customer person. I'm a product developer. I'm a graphic designer. This is where my love comes in. And to me, customer service part of it, I try, but at the end of the day, that's customer service is just not my priority. And I try to explain that as often as I can, that there's only so much time that I can give to the customer side of things, because you have a choice. I can answer your email and explain to you why you haven't gotten your widget, or I can be in the shop making the widget you're complaining that you don't have. So I have to take and do to keep things moving forward. And let's keep in mind, as of today, I've now shipped 26,540 packages. That's a lot.
That's awesome.
So it's cool, really, really cool. That's more packages than I've shipped in my last business. And so when I think about it, I have 19, 20, 25 people that, hate my guts or complain about me incessantly. And it's, I understand every one of their comments, but at the end of the day, 19 people out of 26,540 packages, I'm okay with that. Those are good odds. So, going forward, I think it'll only get better, except, I'm one of those people that I need to hire someone. I need to hire another mechanical engineer. I need to hire another mechanic who can do fabrication. I need to hire another person who can be on shipping and customer service. I need to hire all those people. But guess what? So does every other company in the U.S. So the chances of me being able to find somebody to help change this is pretty darn slim. So I don't see things changing anytime soon, to be quite honest. And so the status quo. But that's not what I want. I don't want to be like that. I don't wake up every morning thinking, how can I piss off somebody? It's really not the case. I only sleep 4 hours a night. Since I was 12 years old, 4 hours. So 20 hours to where I can get things. But in 20 hours, that's product development time, that's laser time, that's packaging time, that's customer service time, that's marketing time, that's development time, that's writing time, that's everything. So there's only so much that I can, time with my wife. So, some things are going to have to suffer, at least for a little while. I get it. People want their things whenever they want it. And I'm okay with that. Trust me, I'll get to your stuff, but in time.
I'm glad to hear that she's on the mend, and it sounds like everything with the move, I think, is going to plane out for you. It sounds like it's been pretty tough, especially with COVID complicating everything. With you sourcing so much from U.S. manufacturers, and then the challenges that are going on right now. I don't know. I would still say that's the perfect thing to do. It's just people have to kind of understand the reality of what everybody's going through right now.
Yeah, it's. Look, I'm not unique to this. There's tons of shops that are dealing with the same exact issues. So I know it's something that is going to keep coming up. Sorry, my phone is it's going into a low energy mode, so it keeps wanting to shut off. So I have to keep tapping. There's, I'll do whatever I can do to make it happen. But there are certain things that are just going to be slower than others. Sorry, guys. There's a ritual that I have.
for a second.
Sorry about that.
All good.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, the phone's stupid. So there's, yeah, it's. I'd like to think things are still a work in progress. Oh, hey, wait. Oh, well, I think my wife just heard, and now she's trying to rescue me. So here, real quick. Hi, honey.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, don't make fun of her poodle hair. I already do that enough.
We were just asking how you were doing, so we're so glad to see you.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing much better.
That's wonderful
Minus
to
a
hear.
kidney now and a lot of hair, but we're getting back to it. It's nice to be getting back to life.
That's
Yes.
awesome. You got people, all kinds of people down below here commenting and excited to see you. So thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. I was listening upstairs and I heard him say the phone was on low power, so I
Yeah,
figured
she
I'd come
kept running
rescue
down.
him.
That's awesome.
Well, honey,
Good to see.
my back and shoulders hurt too.
Aw.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, honey.
Thanks so
Hi, good to
much.
see you.
So yeah, she's look. If you guys would have seen her a month ago, she just would not have been the same person. It's it's awesome that even with only having one kidney, it's all of her function was moved to one side for months. So having it removed was meant nothing to her body because it was already dead.
Yeah.
I noticed you
Tough.
posted something somewhat recently about how surprised you were by the community in general. And just, I think you were talking about the difference between, people you guys knew versus people you knew on the internet and kind of the differences you saw there.
Yeah, so yeah, I did I wrote this long thing. I have, it's just like anybody else. The friends that you have from childhood, how many of you, still have those same friends that you have from childhood? I'm going to say it's a pretty small number, if at all. And so I'm no different than that. And so the friends that, you tend to make, later in life are the ones that, what I've been finding, are around a little bit more, only because, you have the same likes, you have a family, and, you're more relatable for whatever reason. And so when all this is going on with my wife, it was just interesting to see that, it was interesting to see how many people at the time would take the time to say, hey, how are things going? It's like, here's another good example. Somebody's hurting and they're in pain. Well, that pain could be from cancer. That pain could be, suicidal ideation. And it's kind of the same thing because, you have these people that sometimes they need help. Sometimes, they just need someone to just talk to. And it's more about about making yourself available. And it's not that neither my wife nor myself needed somebody to talk to. It's not what it was about. We didn't need somebody to say, "Oh, are you guys okay? Is anything else?" We didn't really need any of that. We were working it out, and we were lucky that we were able to work it out. It was more about the realization of who are the people that would reach out. I have, my own mother. I love my mom, but every 30 days, how's Jesse doing? Fine, Mom. And, where I have my aunt and uncle who live here on the West Coast, and we hear about from them all the time. And I think a lot of it's because they lived a similar life because they had to deal with cancer, and so those people that have lived through it or know people that lived through it know, oh, you know what, I can relate, and this is what I needed at the time. Let me reach out and whatever. And it was so weird, the sheer amount of people that were constantly reaching out. Rob Fawcett, holy cow. Love the dude just because he was constantly reaching out. Jeff Pierce, he's another one. he was, and we become, really good friends because he just kept reaching out. And now I wasn't used to it because I never had people that would reach out like that. But there's this, this group of people that just were constantly trying to reach out. And up to this point, I never met these people. I never met them. But they were customers, and they're following on Instagram, or they're following on Facebook. And now, because of that, I want to go meet them. So every chance I get, as I'm doing traveling, I'd reach out and say, oh, where am I going? Hey, let me reach out to this person, this person, or this person's, I want to buy a beer. Let's go enjoy a cigar. Let's do whatever. And that camaraderie is something that I have only ever seen in this industry. Every other industry, no, it's cutthroat and you're gone. Bye, later, see ya. I'm going to move on to the next person I can leech off of. This industry is very, 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 very different. And I'm super appreciative for the people that hear that. Look, our ideologies will probably never mesh. But holy crap, we have this love for, Land Cruisers that, builds friendships that you never, ever would have thought happen. And it's wow, it's moving. It's really moving. And I'm not a person that's easily moved because I'm a punk. And so, I don't care about a lot of things. I'm so focused on the things that I'm working on. And it was just so unusual to have all these people, reaching out, while I was suffering and while my wife was suffering. And I tried at the beginning, I tried not to let it out at all that this was going on. I wanted it to be private. I didn't want people to know. And it wasn't because of embarrassment. It was just more of, you know what, my wife and I are going through this. We need to just continue to go through this. This is our problem, not your problem. And, unfortunately, it was wreaking havoc with Wits End because Wits End is our sole source of income. That's it. So it's, those people that are at home, waiting for your orders, just me. And this is it. My wife can't work. She couldn't work. And so having those people reaching out and just making sure that you're, do you need a course correction? Are you okay? Do you just need somebody to, shoot the shit with you? And holy cow, it's made a really big difference. So thank you to everybody that has reached out. And believe me, it's appreciated. And I know there'll be a time when I'll be able to reciprocate. Well, hopefully not for a bad reason. Hopefully it's just because you're traveling, you're stopping by and you want to share a beer.
That's awesome to hear. I know Land Cruiser community is really something unique and fascinating, and I love it. It's just, yeah, it's really cool to see, globally, culturally, the diversity of people that come together for, this vehicle is amazing.
Yeah, look, I never expected it because, there's like, I never knew that these type of people were in this kind of an industry. I never expected it. It's not like there was that one person that I'm like, oh man, there's this Land Cruiser god that, I want to be just like him. And there really wasn't that, other than maybe Marv, but that was only because there was that one fleeting moment. That one fleeting moment was enough for me to say, oh, I want that. But there's other people that, I've run into in this industry that I've always found them interesting. But I started realizing, the things that I liked about people in this business and people and things I didn't like, personalities that I gelled with and personalities I definitely didn't gel with. And I think I try to be as much the same person I am in person as I am online. So I can be crazy snarky, because that's just the way I am. There's not a lot that I hold back on. There's a lot of opinions that I hold that may not be popular opinions, but my own experience has delved out, these these opinions, and so so funky. And so there's a lot going on that I'd like to just see improve. And so one of those things, as things go on, is just getting more people to try and help. Not necessarily their situation, but just their knowledge base. There's too many people that I've noticed that. Hello.
We got you now.
So yeah, after the summer of '79, that's when I. Wait, what? Where were we? So yeah, there's. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. So yeah. Sorry, it's so funny. I'm sitting here thinking about, about the interview, but then all of a sudden I had this little spark of an idea in my head, and now all of a sudden I'm going down this rabbit hole of, I could do blah 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 blah. In the morning, I can turn on the laser and I can start blah blah. But that's what happens is I get so sidetracked for things, because even a simple conversation, all of a sudden it sparks something, and it's like, I need to work on this, I need to work on that, and so this is one of those moments where you could probably see it as you rewind it, going, what the hell's going on in his brain? It's like, it's because I was just thinking of something that I'd like to start working on. And luckily I'm in the position now to where, look, I'm beholden to nobody, and it's a great feeling. I don't have partners anymore. I don't have bosses anymore. I don't have any of those things anymore. And so now I can work on literally what I need to and want to work on, because I need to and want to work on them. So that's a great thing too. I highly recommend everybody quit and become their own boss. It's nothing but unicorns and lollipops and fun and games, and anyway.
Well, you heard it here tonight, folks. Everybody walk into the boss's office tomorrow.
Exactly.
Nice. Well, we're running a little long on time, but we wanted to ask you maybe one final question here is, maybe you could leave us with a potential...
A hospital gown pick?
That would be appreciated as well. But if there's anything you can share from your skunk works there, I don't know if there's anything you can leave us with, a hint of something to come, or...
Oh, geez.
I know it's meant too big of an ask, maybe.
No, I'm trying to think. All right, hold on. Since it's nice and dark in here, hold on, let me look at my table. Oh, my wife said no hospital gown picks. Sorry, everybody.
What am I going to do for holiday cards then?
I don't know. Well, okay. All right, something silly. Only because it's silly. So there was something that I posted that I did for a customer, and he had a really, really sweet HD61 that was in here. I haven't posted anything about it. It's the one that I rescued. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff that I still have to write about it. But one of the things, this poor guy only had, one key at this thing. And so I went out and I had a whole bunch of other keys made up. But I posted up this one photo of these little tags that I had done. And so I'm like, you know what? I think I like the idea so much. I'm going to go ahead and do up a whole bunch more of the tags. So you'll be seeing these things coming up pretty soon here, because it's something that was just made, off the cuff, and I wanted to play with it. So, that's kind of where that came in. There's something I really want to show you, but I'm just not ready.
That's fair. That's fair.
When you are, let's do another little interview thing, and you can walk us through it. Everybody, I'm sure, is ready to flood your inbox as soon as they see that come.
Well, yeah, it's going to be. God, I'm so looking forward to it. It's a lot of work to get it done, but once it's done, it's going to be great. It's one of those things that.
Nope.
How's that?
There you go.
So it's one of those things that you'll be on the a mud thread somewhere and you'll see somebody do it, and you're like, holy cow, are you gonna make more? Are you gonna make more? And they'd be like, oh hell no. It's like I was lucky I was able to accomplish this. It's never gonna see the light of day other than in my vehicle. This is gonna be one of those things, and so I'm really 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 looking forward to it. But holy cow, there's so many obstacles to come over to get this all done. And sorry, just something that distracted me real quick. I realize I'm a horrible representation for my own company since I'm wearing a Cruise Moab sweatshirt for a Cruise Moab that didn't happen, and a Sackwear hat that I don't even, it's not even my company. I'm really bad at marketing myself. So I don't know, whatever. But yeah, yes. The answer is yes. There's going to be, there is stuff, but later.
Fair enough. Well, now we're all really excited. I am, so thank you.
No worries.
I look forward to it. Well, thank you so much, Joey. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your insanely busy schedule. I mean, even though you sleep 4 hours, it's a packed day. So thank you so much.
Oh, no worries, man.
Have a great night. Thank you again.
Yeah. All right.
No
Thanks
problem.
everyone for watching. Cheers.
Bye now.